Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. You know, the off-season NFL newsmakers are really the fun teams to talk about. The Atlanta Falcons definitely categorized as one of those, whether it's the draft or a trade or a signing. It seems like they've just always been in the news. So Mark Raimondi comes over, he covers the Atlanta Falcons. He thinks, all right, I'm going to come in, transition over covering the NFL for ESPN, and this is just going to be easy going here. And Mark, it's been the opposite, man. Like the Falcons are just continuing to do things that are a little bit unexpected. I guess that's fair to say. Thanks for coming on.
My first week on the beat, Craig, was draft week, and everyone told me it's going to be relatively straightforward. Pretty boring. They're gonna get defense in the first round. Everyone knows that, right? And they go out and they're the story of the entire draft. And they take Michael Penix Jr. at number 8, and it was a very busy weekend. It was a lot of fun, but certainly polarizing pick that I think has aged well now, but. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about Kirk Cousins coming in, they draft Michael Penix Jr., and now they just acquired 2 Pro Bowl defensive players in the last week. It's been an eventful time in Georgia, so it's been fun to keep up with.
Yeah, and a new head coach, too, for you to deal with in Raheem Morris, who has a lot of experience, of course, in the NFL. He used to coach the Buccaneers. What I would like to, I guess, start with here is Arthur Smith, who departed. And I know that you weren't covering the team as part of that. It feels to me like the Falcons, in firing him and bringing in Morris and doing all these things, kind of felt like their team should have been a lot better than what it was. Because normally when something like this happens, it's kind of a transition period, Mark. But instead of this transition period, it feels like Arthur Blank looked at the team and said, wow, this is a major underachieving team. If we just add a couple of pieces, maybe we'll be a lot better than last year. At least that's my perception of it.
Yeah, I think if you look back, Craig, at last year's Falcons, they started off pretty strong, and they lost a lot of close games. They lost a lot of games where they were leading in the fourth quarter. And I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 games that maybe they win even 2 of them. It's a totally different story because they went 7-10. So maybe they're 9-8. Maybe they're even 10-7. Who knows? So I think that it was a team that there's certainly no rebuild happening down here in Atlanta. That's for sure. Raheem Morris is taking over a team that already had a pretty decent core of good players, especially good young players at the skill positions. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. These are guys that could be star players in the NFL with the right scheme, with the right quarterback, which they now have in Kirk Cousins. And that was the big priority of the offseason, is to get that guy. So 100%, there's no rebuild, and it looks like they're the favorites right now to win the division. Of course, it's a results-based business in the NFL, so we'll see what happens during the season. But that's kind of where things are right now. There's a lot of hope down here in Atlanta.
Yeah, and Mark, I think that's fair. Again, if you just look at data, teams that usually lose a lot of close games, that sort of evens out the next year. Not that you win all those close games, but maybe you win more of them. Not a ton of notable departures, I don't think, for the Falcons really to talk about. But the key addition, as you mentioned, and it is a quarterback league, so we just go right there, is to Kirk Cousins. And so with you being around and covering him, it seems to me that he's saying all the right things ever since the Penix move was made, and he's the starting quarterback going into the season. I guess I would ask you, Mark, is there narrative with any over-the-shoulder looking or anything like that? Because it just does feel like Cousins has always had some sort of adversity over the course of his career. Is this any different?
It's true, and I think that adversity has helped him deal with situations like these with Michael Penix Jr. I think initially there was some consternation. I think it bugged him just naturally, because this is a guy that was coming into Atlanta. He talked about wanting to retire with the Falcons. He has history in the city. His wife is from the Atlanta area. They got married here. So his in-laws are all here. They're all big Falcons fans. So I think he saw this as a place where he could retire, and maybe that will not be the case depending on how things go in the next few years. Michael Penix Jr. kind of like looming as a team's quarterback of the future. But look, Kirk Cousins is his team right now, and it's his team for the foreseeable future, and he has acted that way. He has been a leader. He has brought his skill position players on trips to go see John Gruden down in Tampa. He has really taken like the offensive line guys. They've gone out to dinner, and they've hung out, and they've done barbecues at the offensive line coach's house, Dwayne Ledford. So he's definitely taking it upon himself to be the leader of this team, to be the captain, Captain Kirk. And that's something the team has not really had over the last several years, especially in the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. And so you've seen Penix play probably more than anybody else in these practice sessions, where some of it there's video and some of it there's not. You would have to tell me. It sounds like he's not playing in the third preseason game, so it's clipboard time, I guess, for him. Is it not, Mark?
he's not playing, and he did not play last week either against the Ravens, but he's looked pretty good. He played pretty well in the first preseason game against the Dolphins, and that game was kind of indicative of exactly how he's played in practice. And you've seen a progression from him from OTAs to now. He's gotten more consistent. His decision making is better, and we know about the arm talent. I mean, he can fit it into a very tight window, and he can throw a gorgeous deep ball. And as he develops, I think it's exciting for Falcons to see, where he is, this year, next year, and then when he can maybe start in 2026 potentially.
All right, so if the Falcons are the favorite, who is the biggest challenger, you think, in the division? I know it's not Carolina. They only won 2 games last year. If they win 3, that's an improvement. This was a boring division last year until Baker got hot at the end, Mark. Is that the case again? Is it Tampa Bay being the biggest challenger? Saints are another one of these teams. It's just like, no offense to a Carr in that team, but it's kind of a boring squad.
I think Tampa Bay is definitely the other favorite in the division. You could say if Baker Mayfield comes back and has another good season like he did last year, I would put them kind of right there with the Falcons as far as the favorites. New Orleans has a lot of holes, but they have some good players. Their offensive line is kind of a mess right now. They don't really know what's going to happen with those guys. But I would say, if I was handicapping, I would say, Falcons and Bucks are kind of 1 and 2 right now, and it's pretty close.
All right. Well, Mark, great stuff as always. Enjoy the season covering the Falcons for ESPN, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Craig.